It's always 2 steps.
There we go. Every week I think, don't do exactly the same thing. Do something different. And I always do exactly the same thing.
I do the exact same thing too. So.
That can be our censor. If somebody's saying something, you can just drum over them.
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to have lots of fun with our tongue drum. I'll show the tongue drum in a bit.
Yes.
Because up until we're in February, so this would have been December. Up until December of last year, I didn't know what a tongue drum was or how beautiful it sounds.
Yes, I know.
So, yeah, we'll talk tongue drum in a minute.
It's hard to say.
It is. It is. So here we are for another MAAT session. It is February 9th.
Yeah.
February 9th, 2022. And today, in honor of African Heritage Month here in Nova Scotia, we're going to spend some time talking about the amazing woman, Viola Desmond. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I gotta do introductions. See, I don't have my agenda here, Vida. So okay. So my name is Margaret Major, and I am a registered counseling therapist here at the After Trauma Empowerment Network in Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia. I'm joined with Vida Woodworth, who is co-host and chairperson on our board of directors. Kate Matthews is also with us, but she's technical directing and cooking supper at the same time right now. And we won't see Kate, but Kate is behind the scenes. And we thank you for being here, for joining us. Shout out to Emmett for always being here.
Yes.
Our thanks and gratitude goes out to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia for their financial support for Project MAAT, for us to be able to do this program. We are always very grateful to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia for their work they do in our province. They do a lot of awesome, amazing work. Okay, so first I'll do the diversity welcome, and then we'll do a check-in and get the latest on the Olympics and what's happening in your world.
Okay.
Okay.
And
yes,
just because Brian told us to do this.
Oh, yes.
If you're joining us, don't forget to subscribe and push the like button.
Yeah.
And what's the other thing? There's 3 things. Anyway.
Notification, but I'm not sure what notification means. You get a notification.
Yeah, but even if you subscribe and push the like button, that would be wonderful. So
wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. There. So.
Okay. So. Like, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend. Now I feel like I'm being demanding.
Yes.
Do this, this, and this, and this.
Yeah. Now.
Okay, let's do our welcome. So we would like to welcome all women, men, transgender, and other identified individuals here today. I have to fix this a little bit because part of my head's cut off. We'd like to welcome everyone here who is a mother, father, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, son, daughter, cousin, grandmother, or grandfather. Welcome. We welcome people of all races, tribes, and descents. We welcome your bodies, your minds, your spirit, and your energy. We welcome survivors and those who support them. We welcome all people single, married, partnered, dating, celibate, or involved in whatever sort of relationship is right for you. We welcome gay, lesbian, bisexual, heterosexual, queer, two-spirited, asexual, and others for whom none of the current labels fit. We welcome your emotions, your joy, bliss, happiness, sadness, frustration, disappointment, anger, all of your emotions, welcome. We welcome everyone's special way of understanding and knowing the world, everyone's wisdom, whether it is education that has been learned in schools, colleges, universities, and/or the deep and profound school of life. We welcome those living with chronic medical conditions, visible and invisible. We welcome mystics, seekers, and believers of all kinds. We welcome people who identify as activists, community leaders, group members, musicians, artists, storytellers, and those who don't. And finally, we'd like to welcome the ancestors who lived in this land where we are now. Welcome the spirits of Mi'kmaq, the natives who lived on this land before the Europeans came. We'd like to acknowledge them and invite their spirits to this space. Everyone, welcome. And thank you for being here. Okay.
Oh. Moving on.
Okay. Okay, Vida. So it was a beautiful day today. We got to see the sunshine, lots of ice and water everywhere. Unlike last evening, there was I don't know what you would call it, was happening out in the parking lot out there, but cars were not making it through very successfully. They were stalling out in the water because it was way over hoods of cars, and it was just, ooh.
Yeah. Lots of water around.
Yeah.
Even tonight, I drove through the Cooks Mill Road and onto the Gaze River Road, and close to, we always referred to it as Spares' turn, because it used to be a family named Spares who owned the farm on that really sharp turn. The water is just right at the edge of the pavement, so if it was high tide, then that's good. But if it wasn't high tide, I would expect the Gaze River Road, just before you come to the West St. Andrews Road, is going to be flooded tonight. Okay. Because the ice is blocking up the river and it's just getting higher and higher. But yeah, and my little parking lot where I live with Mom in the apartment is like a skating rink. We could probably host probably figure skating events there and maybe some luge. So it took me a little longer to get to the car because I had to walk very carefully to get there tonight.
Oh yes, delicate steps for sure.
Yeah, and it was so beautiful though on the weekend, even though I don't like freezing rain and I hate that it hurts trees and, you know, breaks limbs and puts the power out. But the not the next day, but the day after, when the sun was out and the sky was so blue, it was just like everything was covered in crystal, and it was beautiful. So yeah, we sure do have a wide variety of weather in Nova Scotia, often all on the same day, as they say. So
yeah, and that ice all on the everywhere. It was magical in ways. Yes. The way that the sun, and sometimes you would get to see flecks of red or blue or green in the ice.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course I did go out for a drive, and I remember when I got home I said to Mom I should have taken some pictures, and I am still so old-fashioned that when I think of taking pictures I think I have to have a camera with me. And I had my cell phone with me the whole time. And so, yes, I could have taken all kinds of pictures and didn't.
Yes.
But one of these days I will remember that technology has advanced and that my phone actually has a lovely camera in it and I can take pictures with it. So,
yes.
Yeah. So anyway, this week has been probably mostly filled with Olympics. And because it's in Beijing in China, they're I forget how many hours, at least 12 hours or 15 hours ahead of us. So it means that everything that's happening, if you want to watch it live, you have to watch it overnight. And I try not to, because I'd like to sleep, but somehow I'll just think about it and then I can't sleep and I end up watching it. So it's been exciting to watch. There's been a few kind of controversies happening. The Canadian hockey game against ROC, the Russian Olympic Committee team, not because they made them change from being a country to, because of the doping and stuff, they changed how Russian athletes can compete and the name that they compete under. Canada and the ROC were going to play hockey, and they had an hour and 10-minute delay, I think, while they tried to figure out, I think they were waiting for COVID results for the ROC team, and then they decided they would play, and they both had to wear masks, which would be very difficult, I would think, to do.
Yes.
And anyway, and then for the first two periods, both teams wore masks. And then the third period, the Canadian team kept their masks on, but the Russian team didn't. So I didn't really hear exactly what happened, why they decided not to wear theirs for the third period. Oh. And then with the ski jumping, there's an event where the men and the women from each country can compete together in ski jumping as a team. And so very surprisingly, Canada won a bronze medal in this event. But what happened was that there were 5 people disqualified, especially in the teams that were the sort of the top teams were pretty affected by this. So it allowed the Canadian team, which really wasn't expected to medal, to kind of jump up and get a bronze. But all 5 of the people that were disqualified were women. And what they said, they decide on the kind of competition uniform or that they can wear, the gear they can wear. It's based on how much each person weighs and so on, because if you're lighter or heavier, it will affect how fast you can go and how far you can jump and so on. And they decided, I think that 5 women from different countries had their outfit was too loose. And so it would catch air and kind of allow them maybe to travel further, because they'd be kind of like flying squirrels, or, it would act like a kite, almost a kite effect. And of course, they were all very upset and disappointed, because they were the same outfits they'd been wearing all year. And nobody had ever questioned them at that point. And some people said that they changed the requirements for the Olympics and to try and, disqualify certain teams so they wouldn't get in the medals. But it was obvious, I think, that it was directed primarily at female athletes. And one of the women said, I was in COVID quarantine and the food was horrible, so I lost weight. So my suit that I would normally wear was, looser than it was normally because of the way I had to live in the quarantine. So there's, been some behind the scenes and not so behind the scenes controversies happening. Mm-hmm. But it's cool to watch. One of our athletes is a survivor of cancer. He had Hodgkin's lymphoma and he won the gold medal. And so, to see people, whether they're Canadian or not Canadian, sort of achieve something that, they've trained for all their lives, or that they've overcome adversity. I love that about watching the Olympics, and I think it's the stories for me and the competition and so on. So And the Australian curling team actually beat Canada. It's the first time they've ever been in the Olympics for curling. And the mixed team that Canada had, the male, he was the coach for the Australian team. So he coached them a little too good, because then he coached them well enough to beat us. But no, I think after everything settled, it was kind of nice to see Australia beat a world leading country in curling at their first Olympics. So yeah, all kinds. And as you know, Margaret, I can talk forever about the Olympics. So
I know the Olympics are such a passion for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think
any other.
I missed the nominations for the Academy Awards yesterday, but I did see that there's a man from Nova Scotia. He was nominated last year, and he's been nominated again this year. And he's made a film of one of the greatest female basketball players ever. And I meant to write her name down so I'd remember it, and I forgot. When I was in university, I studied the history of sport, and I studied, quite a bit about female athletes in sport, and how women had to fight to have the same rights to participate in sport, especially at the university level, because for a long time they didn't get any funding and were kind of ignored. But I didn't know about this woman, and I'm really disappointed that I didn't. She's the only woman to date ever to have been drafted into the NBA. She's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And anyway, when this, I think he's a director, found out about her story, he wanted to tell it. And there was a lot of movies of her competing and so on that hadn't been hadn't been digitalized. And so he was able to access that, and she was still living, and so he was able to talk to her and her family and so on. And unfortunately, she passed away 3 weeks ago, and she didn't find out that he had been nominated for an Academy Award for her story. But she did know that her story was going to be told, and that it would be much better known than it had been. And she's also African American, and so I think February being African Heritage Month, it's kind of nice to find out about her, and I think it's on YouTube, so I'm planning to try and find it and watch it. Because I'd love to know her story, and hopefully learn more about her, and to celebrate her, because those are the women that paved the way for the women of today to be involved in sport and to have a step towards equality with men in sport. We're still not there. Very few sports are we still paid the same as the men are, especially professional level sports. And even at university, it's not always the same amount of money that goes towards the women's programs as it does towards the men's, although it should be, and it's supposed to be. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, I can't think of anything else unless I'm forgetting something. And no, okay, good.
I don't think.
No,
I'm just trying to quickly scan through my brain just to see if there was anything. But I think that the stuff that's like, we'll probably do like a call for submissions for artwork soon.
Yes,
that's something, but I can talk about that on our next session.
Yeah. Valentine's Day is coming up.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I think that
next week we're
self-love is important.
Yes.
On Valentine's Day, as well as sharing that, but remembering yourself.
Yeah. When I just, if you don't mind, I could just share a little story. When growing up, there was just my sister and I, and every year, as long as I can remember, on Valentine's Day, my dad would always buy us a heart-shaped box of chocolates, and he would give one to my sister, one to me, and one to Mom. And he did that for as long as he was alive. And even the last few years, he wasn't able to get out to shop himself. So he would usually get one of us to kind of do his shopping for him. But he always made sure that every year at Valentine's, we would get a Valentine box of chocolates. And when, during the time that just before he passed away, one of the things he said to Mom is, I want you to make sure that even though I'm not going to be there, that you'll still do that, so that you guys get your hearts, your Valentine's hearts. And anyway, so at Valentine's to me is always been about my dad more than romantic relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
He always made sure, and Mom's, of course, was always a little bit nicer than ours, or different. I shouldn't say nicer, different than ours. And when Jane and I got together and so on, then Jane was included. So all the women in his life always got their Valentines. And so I always, he's not here anymore, but I still think of that every year at Valentine's Day, about those chocolates. And last year, I think I was the one, because Mom couldn't go shopping, and I got the box of chocolates for my sister and for myself and for Mom. So so I would think maybe I'll be going shopping soon. Yeah. Anyway.
And listening to your story makes me want a heart box of chocolates.
Yes, well, you just never know. It might have sour candy in it instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No shortage of that in my world. Happily. Yeah. And then I thought of saying something, and then it's gone.
It's disappeared.
Yes. And I almost segued into talking about Viola when you were talking about the
basketball player. Yes.
Because there was a couple of descriptor words that you used to describe her, and I thought, oh, that's perfect to segue into Viola.
Well, they were both definitely role models and pioneers, and
inspirations.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk just a little bit about Viola, because she is a very inspirational. There's so many different words that you could use for Viola. Leader, role model. She was a business owner. I almost mispronounced this word, and I still might. Beautician. Did I say that correctly?
No, beautician. Yes.
Yeah. And I've been doing some reading on Viola, just to learn more about her, in addition to what she's most known for here in Nova Scotia, which we'll talk about in a sec. So her full name is Viola Irene Desmond. She was born July 6th, 1914, I believe, in Halifax. Born into a very large family, and spent a lot of time, and may have lived with her grandparents at some point, and was very, I guess, passionate and interested in pursuing esthetician, beautician, or coming up with products, helping women just feel, you know, beautiful, feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was her passion. She tried to, and this is just from what I've gathered from reading, but here in Nova Scotia, tried to get into like cosmetology schools here, and because she is Black, she was not accepted. Although it wasn't a blatant policy, but that's just an example of the underlying systemic racism that existed back then and still does today in some ways. In some ways. Yes, it does. It's not gone.
No.
No. So she had to go to Montreal to receive her training. And I'm just looking because I want to make sure I get the name. But she started Vi's Studio of Beauty Culture.
Oh,
Beauty
cool.
Salon. And I love beauty culture.
Yeah.
And I didn't put a date there for when that happened. And then she started the Desmond School of Beauty Culture to educate other, I guess, African or Black Nova Scotian women who wanted to learn how to help other women and start their own business. She encouraged that kind of growth as well, to go out and do this for yourself. And in that way, she was such an amazing woman.
Yeah.
She even had her own line of beauty products, Vi's Beauty Products. Yes.
Yeah.
And was married. I don't think I wrote her husband's name down. Not a very good note taker. So it was what I guess Viola is most known for is the movie theater. So her and her husband were on their way to Sydney. She was going to sell some of her beauty products, and her car broke down near New Glasgow or in New Glasgow. And the parts were going to be a day coming in, so they had to stay in New Glasgow to get the car fixed. And they went to a movie theater. I think it was Roseland Theater in New Glasgow. And she bought a ticket, and inside the theater there was a balcony, and then there was the floor. And she had went to the floor because she's nearsighted and she wanted to be able to see the movie screen. And no, I'm mixing that up, Vida, because there was, I think she wanted to exchange her ticket for the floor because she had a balcony seat, because that's where other people had to go.
Yeah, Black people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They weren't allowed on the floor, although that wasn't, again, posted policy, but that's how that's how racism happened.
Yeah.
And they refused to sell her a floor ticket because they didn't sell tickets to people like you.
Yeah.
She knew what that meant. So she went back in and sat in a floor seat. She was asked to leave. She refused to leave, and rightfully so. Oh, I get goosebumps. Because when I think of this, I think of that moment, how that must have felt in that moment to refuse. And like, it's your freaking right.
Yeah.
Be able to sit there and watch a movie. Like, oh my buddy, I'm covered in goosebumps right now. And they forcibly removed her. They called the police and they forcibly removed her from her seat and from the theater. They injured her hip and her knee in the process. They arrested her. She spent the night in jail. She was charged with tax evasion. She was fined for tax evasion. So what happened was the balcony seats, the tax on the balcony seats was 2 cents. the tax on the floor seats was 3 cents. So she was charged with not paying the 1 cent tax difference. She was charged, fined, I believe the fine was $26, but had that on her record. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's where she started fighting back. And that's why she's known as the modern civil rights movement leader in Canada, not just Nova Scotia, but Canada. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah, I know. It's
it's amazing. 1946, Vida. 1946 that happened.
I know. I have when I was a teenager, so back in the 70s, I remember going to a school in New Glasgow and seeing above 2 entrances. It was covered over, but not very well. And one entrance was labeled whites and the other was labeled blacks. And I mean, being shocked, and that was in the 70s. And then later on, when I was attending the Teachers College in Truro, we often went to many of the schools in the Truro area, and going down in the basement of one of the schools, I think it was Douglas Street School. And there was kind of a trough in the bottom part of the what would be the basement, I guess, of the school, and in the floor. And that was where the black boys went to the washroom. They weren't allowed to share washrooms with the white kids. And even though that wasn't happening at that time, they were still there, like they still existed, and you know, and so yeah, it's you know, and what happened to Viola and many other people had similar, you know, or worse things, and continues to happen today. You mentioned, you know, systemic racism, and you know, and how sometimes it's kind of hidden, but it still exists and is still very strong and affects people every day.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So, and she was, you know, she finally decided, you know, I'm not going to be treated differently. I deserve to sit on the floor, and I'm going to sit here. And yeah, so, you know, it took a lot of bravery and courage for her to do that. And it was a big risk. And it wasn't until, when I think it was when Marianne Francis was the, I think it's Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, where she, and I'm trying to remember the word, it was, you said it was on her record.
Pardon?
Yes, and she was given a posthumous pardon for her what she did, and it was you know, her sister who was there to represent her when that happened. But yeah, it's
2010, I think, when that happened. Yes. Yeah. The first time that was ever granted in Canada.
Yeah. So for people who think or say, you know, that things have changed and, you know, we just got to move on. We can't just move on until these things are changed. They're not changed. They're just, in many cases, hidden and covered up. And until all of us see it as something that needs to change and demand that it gets changed, it probably is going to take more time. And not to make a lot of political statements, but it's kind of why some of the things that are happening in Ottawa with the truckers convoy, and it's not connected to the mandate for vaccines at all. It's the other kinds of things that are happening around that protest that is really scary, because a lot of the messaging and the symbols that we're seeing are very much white supremacists. There are Nazi symbols. There are symbols that Jewish people were made to wear during the Holocaust that are being used and in an inappropriate way, and are being paraded about in a way that would be very humiliating, upsetting, and traumatizing for a lot of people. And you know, so it's that sideshow that's happening that's really what's scary. Yeah. And I know that there's probably because it's a very white protest. If you look, most of the faces are white, so I'm sure there's a lot of racism against Black people that's happening during these protests as well. As well as homophobia and all kinds of other things. So yeah. Anyway, not to digress from Viola's story, but
no, this is all you know, relevant, important stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, people that are willing to take that risk and stand up for themselves and for other people should be celebrated. Oh, and absolutely. And those are the stories that we need to tell in our history. In addition to the other stories. So yeah.
Something I just wanted to add to what you were saying is another area where there's noticeable racism is in our criminal justice system.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you look at jails and prisons, so disproportionate, like and then the way that sentences are handed out as well, in regards to length or severity of the sentence will depend on your race, and not okay.
Yeah. Indigenous people and Black people in particular are overrepresented in our system.
Yeah.
And I've disappeared here for some reason.
I know.
What happened? I don't know why. Here I am back again. But both, you know, are way overrepresented. And yes, the length of sentences, even though there's been a lot of movement, especially in women's corrections, to improve the kinds of programming and things that women can access while they're in prison, and even when they're in the community, it's still very difficult for Indigenous people and Black people to access things that are culturally relevant to them. You know, sometimes, and to bring it back to Viola, I mean, even now when we talk about hairstyling and people, you know, going to the hair salon to get their hair done, for someone who's Black or you know, Indigenous, or you know, that person they may go to, even though they've had a lot of training, may not know how to deal with their hair, because hair is different depending on someone's race or culture. And it's almost impossible to get training to be able to work with different hair. And even though there's lots of requirements and people who would love to go and have their hair done in the salon, a lot of, you know, in the Black community, a lot of people do their own hair. And, you know, there's someone in the community, or it gets kind of passed around from person to person. They learn how to do their own hair, how to take care of it, and what products work. And fortunately, there are more products available now. If you go to like a drugstore, and years ago you would go and there would only be a certain kind of, you know, shampoos and conditioners and stuff. and it would never be anything that someone who's Black may need for their hair. But now we see that has expanded a little bit. I'm sure it could always be improved, and it depends on where you live.
Yes.
Probably not going to find those kind of products in abundance here in Shubenacadie, but maybe in Halifax, or maybe in Truro, or in a community where there's a larger population and a larger demand for those products. But again, it's not, you can't just go to the store and get what you want wherever you're living in Canada. You may have to go somewhere else or to a bigger area. Yeah. So, yeah, if Viola was here today, I'm sure she would be taking that on and making it a requirement that if you want to get your hairstyling license, that you have to know how to deal with all kinds of hair, not just one kind. Yeah. And she would probably, be training people and producing even more products and making sure that they were available to whoever needed them.
Yes. She would be an enforcer of that. Yes.
Yes.
And something that I just want to show is, when did this happen? 2018, I think.
I think, yeah.
Yes. So this is a first for a Canadian woman to appear all alone, because there was an announcement that Viola was the first Canadian woman to be on a banknote, but they made a mistake with that, and there's a bill, it might be a $10 bill from a long time ago, where there's a group of people and one of the people in there is a female. So Viola is the first
woman
by herself on a banknote.
And probably the
2018
first person of color.
I would suspect so.
I would say, yeah. I told you earlier when her sister Wanda Robson was invited to the unveiling of the banknote, and they gave her one to hold and to look at, and they were asking her what she thought of it, and she was so excited and so happy. And she was her sister, carried on her legacy, Viola's legacy, until she just passed away a few days ago. And she always had she just said things that were they just hit home, but they were so simple. And sometimes she had a really great sense of humor too. So, and one of the things she said, she was looking at it and she says, "Wow, I guess now the Queen is in some good company." And because the Queen, of course, is on the back of all of our banknotes or on many of them. And so she very much equated her sister Viola to be at the same level as the Queen, because they were both on our Canadian money, and rightly so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that I'll just scratch that altogether. I want to show this picture. So this is from I need to share a screen. Sorry. I'll get it together. I think after almost, how many months have we been doing this, Vida?
Coming up 11? On a year. Yeah.
Close to 11 months we've been doing this. You think I would have it down by now? There we go. Can you see her?
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm just moving this around. I'm not sure if I'm there. This is from Canadian government website. I just love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and I just, like I said before, like as I was talking about what happened, the goosebumps, and when I'm listening to you say these things, just the goosebumps, because it's like the power in that. That's
yeah. I'm waiting for the, I don't know, the mint, Canadian Mint, or whoever comes up with our banknotes and our money to start maybe taking some of the old boys from the old boys club off of our money and putting on some more of our Indigenous peoples and other people who probably deserve to be on there every bit as much, if not more, than some of the people who've been on there forever. So
do we need to write a letter, Vida?
I don't know. We might have
write
to.
A letter.
I'm sure people already probably have, but
yep.
Yeah, it would be nice to see some different faces and hear some different stories being told commonly, not just, you know, in small places and amongst a few people. It should be very well known, and we should be very proud of the people, you know, whether they're Indigenous or Black or whoever they are. If they've stood up for people's you know, rights and made a difference, then those are the people I want on my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And today is February 9th, and sadly, it's just 2 days past the I guess anniversary of Viola's death. So she passed away February 7th, 1965.
Wow. And her sister just passed away.
I know.
What date was it on the same day?
I'm not sure exactly.
It was really close.
Passing. I know, it's so close.
Yeah. I
had to question myself because I thought I got confused, but no, Viola passed away February 7th, 65.
Yeah.
She was living down in New York and passed away from gastrointestinal bleeding.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yes. No, her sister Wanda took on her, you know, her story and her legacy and represented her very, very proudly and well, and continued to you know, fight to have her story told and to become, you know, talked about, and for her to have you know, that criminal conviction overturned, and to see her sister on the $10 note, banknote, and yeah, so she went to places and talked about, you know, what happened the day that Viola went to the movie theater, and talked about her sister and talked about racism, and yeah, she in her own right became an advocate and a pioneer. So she'll be missed, and
yeah. I think that is all. Well, Nova Scotia's first Heritage Day, so that was back, I believe, in 2015. That was named after Viola Desmond.
Yes,
in her honor and recognition. So I think awareness is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
We still need to do more about awareness, though.
Yeah,
because there's still a lot of that old school thinking, old belief sets, attitudes, and with education and awareness, that's the only place where we can start is there. And then, okay, who are the decision policymakers here? We need to get, you know, everybody involved.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, February is African Heritage Month, and we, you know, we celebrate that, and we have activities, and we spend time talking about it more. But every day of the year, it should be talked about and celebrated. You know, the same as for anyone. But it's important that we do have, you know, a time that we do focus maybe a little bit more on one group or another. Mm-hmm. But it should be 365 days a year that it's important, and And not just, you know, we need to start going beyond awareness and start taking action, changing, as you just said, policies and legislation and whatever we need to change so that, you know, people are not treated differently, and it's not accepted that they're treated differently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well said, Bonnie. Now, we thought we would have a short show tonight, but that didn't happen again.
No, it didn't.
Wow, we can go.
Yes, well, we can.
Well, I think that we'll probably do our loving kindness meditation, and I'll hit the bing bongs, and then we'll wrap it up and go home. And I'm gonna make some garlic fingers, I think.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
I've although I have been thinking about this mac and cheese with crushed up cheese crackers on the top. That sounds pretty. Maybe I'll make that for Monday for group.
Oh yes, that's right. We start on Monday.
Potluck.
Yeah. That sounds good. You could always do a test batch before the you know.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Good idea. Okay. So, oh, and I should mention that there won't be a show next week.
That's right.
On the 16th. Biden and I are going to Sabaganagni to do a presentation and have a great discussion with a youth group over there. Awesome.
Yes, we're on the road.
We're on the road.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to start doing our MAAT sessions on the road.
Oh, I would love to, Vida.
Yeah.
We could go to like Muscatawbit Valley, and we could go, you know, to Annapolis Royal. And,
yes.
You know, get if COVID wasn't happening.
Yes, and even, I don't know, somewhere warm in the winter.
Oh, do you mean like down south, Vida?
Well, we might have to.
Holy mackerel. Wow.
You know, that's
opening it up. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But, we can dream.
Yes, we can.
We can dream. And right now, we can all just take a deep breath.
Yes.
And I'll guide us through our loving kindness meditation before we go.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're comfortable closing your eyes, please do so. And if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, just find something for you to fix your stare on for the next 2 minutes. Just allow your breathing just to be natural. You don't need to count or control it in any way. Hear the sounds in the room around you. Just being present in this moment. Putting all your stresses and worries up on the shelf. Begin to feel any tension you might be holding in your body. Begin to feel that start to drain away from you. Feel it start to drain away from your eyes, your face, through your neck, your shoulders, and down your arms. Feel any tension drain like a liquid down through your body and out through your toes. Now begin to feel your body fill up with love. Imagine a loving white light entering your feet, traveling up through your body, up to your stomach, to your chest, and your arms. Feel it almost bursting through your heart, your fingers, and through the crown of your head. And when you feel embraced in that love, silently repeat the following words to yourself. May I be free from all harm. May I be safe and protected. May I be free from all suffering. May I be happy. May I be free from all disease and physical pain. May I be healthy and strong. And may I be able to live in this world happily, peacefully, joyfully, and with ease. Now turn your thoughts to this vast world, this huge earth with all its living creatures. Continue to feel that love bursting in your heart as you silently say, may all beings be free from all harm. May they be safe and protected. May all beings be free from all suffering. May they be happy. May all beings be free from all disease and physical pain. May they be healthy and strong. And may all beings be able to live in this world happily, peacefully, joyfully, and with ease. Send your love as far out around the world as possible. And just imagine that energy traveling through the earth. Notice the weight of your feet on the floor or your body on the surface. Feeling yourself in this moment, in the now. Feeling that love centered around your heart. And when you are ready, you may slowly open your eyes. There.
There.
Could you hear the tongue drum? Oh, I didn't check the tongue drum.
We'll have to do that next time.
Okay.
We'll keep it as
the tongue drum next time.
Yes. And maybe I'll bring mine and we could do kind of synchronized drumming.
We'll have a tongue, say this one.
Tongue drum.
Tongue drum jam.
Jam, yes.
Tongue drum jam.
Yes. We will.
Sounds good.
Yes.
So yes, we will be back. When will that? The 23rd. And I believe we're going to have Tracy Dorrington Skinner with us.
Yes, that's right.
And then I believe on March 2nd, we're going to have Tasha Head.
That's right.
She recently had another collection of poetry published. So we're going to get her to talk about her art of poetry. And March 12th, is it? That might be Daryl and Ted, but we'll confirm that at a later date.
Yes. And I know my mother has offered to come and be a guest. Yes, whenever we can fit her in, she said, and talk about how music has played such a big role in her life.
For your mom to come on, Viola.
Yeah, and also maybe play a little harmonica for us. So
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got some up and coming exciting guests coming. So yeah. All right.
Okay. Big thank you, Emmett, for hanging out with us this
Yes.
evening.
Hi, Emmett. And the parcel is in the mail tomorrow.
Have a good night, Emmett.
Yeah.
I'm going to say good night to Kate because I always end the video.
That's
and
right.
It shuts right off. And we're like big disconnect from Kate.
Yeah. So I hope your supper was good,
night,
Kate.
Yes. Yes. I hope it was tasty. And I hope your cats don't bother you for the rest of the evening.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So everybody, please take good care of yourself. Take good care of each other. And be well. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.